Good morning. My name is Karen Gender, and I am your liturgist today. I am pleased to welcome all of you who have come here to be together. And let's all just welcome one more time the Klezmer Band for sharing their attention. If you are visiting for the first time, a special welcome to you. We are so glad that you chose to be with us today. I hope that you feel warmly welcomed and today's message speaks to you and that we will see you again. If you're here in person, fill out the guest card on the way out so we can stay in touch with you. This is a liberal religious community of spiritual seekers. We welcome you all in the fullness of your age, race, ethnicity, gender expression, sexual orientation, and religious background. Our faith is not lived in creeds, but in deeds, not in the hereafter, but in the here and now. Our core values are freedom, reason, respect, and love. And a few words about our COVID protocol. Masks must be worn at all times and properly on church property, whether inside or outside. We have masks if you need one, and if you are 12 and up, you must be fully vaccinated to come to worship. There is no eating or drinking in the building, so we aren't tempted to take off our masks, and our social hour takes place outside after service. Welcome to Elliott Chapel.
Our opening words are by the Reverend Gretchen Haley. Come in, all who long to know how to love this world, how to keep eyes open, hands unclenched, arms wide, breathing deeply in and out. This is a time to practice because there is still so much good and beauty and joy, but it can be hard to keep telling this tale with all the news and the wind and the rain and the trembling earth. Who wants to love this life anyway? Come in, all who teeter on this edge of cynicism, broken-hearted and still trying to remember laughter and kindness, and the chance to be alive in these days when so much is at stake. In this place, we remind each other why we persist, giving each other courage to take this path that is not always easy, to keep practicing this love that will not let us go, and still calls us on. Come, let us worship together. We will light our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Ta-da. Deep calls unto deep. Joy calls unto joy. Light calls unto light. Let the kindling of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of love, peace, and hope. We pledge ourselves to be bearers of the light wherever we are. Now, if you would, we will sing our opening hymn, number 1000, Morning Has Come. The words are in your order of service, and rise as you are willing and able.
Dance with joy and sing a
My personal affiliation with Elliott Chapel began in 1983 when my husband Jim and I were married here. Over the years, we were active raising 2 children in the religious education program, doing work projects, providing meals for the homeless, and many stewardship campaigns. Currently, I sit on the board of Kirk Care, which is the food pantry and utility assistance program for those living in the Kirkwood School District attendance area as a representative from Elliott Chapel. At this time, I'd invite you to join me in the congregational covenant. The unison words are printed in your order of service. As a free congregation, we promise to one another our mutual trust and support. To create a beloved community, we promise to be kinder to each other than we have to be, to listen fully to each other with an open mind and heart, to speak responsibly and respectfully, to find ways to improve our church for all members and friends.
Our story today is from Peter H. Reynolds is the author, and it's a book called The Word Collector. How many of you like words? Anybody here like words? Good. This is a story for you. Some people collect stamps, and some people collect coins. Some people collect art. Some collect bugs. Others collect baseball cards. And some people collect comic books. But Jerome, what did he collect? Jerome collected words. He collected words that he heard, certain words that he would hear and they would just catch his attention. He collected words that he saw on signs, and certain words would jump out at him. There were short and sweet words, like stark, or spark, or drift, bloom, dream. There were 2-syllable treats, treasure, motif, candid, glimmer. And multi-syllable words that sounded like little songs, geometry, guacamole, kaleidoscope. And there were words that he did not know the meaning of at first, but they were marvelous to say. Aromatic, vociferous, effervescent. And there were words whose sounds were perfectly suited to their meaning. Torrential, molasses, smudge. Jerome filled his scrapbooks with more and more and more words. His collection of words grew, and he began organizing them: dreamy, science, sad, action, poetic. And one day, while transporting them, Jerome slipped, and the words went flying everywhere. Oh, no. And he began to pick them up, and he noticed his collection had become jumbled. Big words next to little words, sad words next to dreamy words. Jerome began stringing these words together, and words he had not imagined side by side. He used these words to make poems, and he used his poems to make songs that moved and delighted people. Some of his simplest words were his most powerful. I understand. I'm sorry. Thank you. You matter. Jerome eagerly collected more and more of his favorite words. The more words that he knew, the more clearly he could share with the world his thoughts and his feelings and his dreams. One breezy afternoon, Jerome climbed the highest hill, pulling a wagon packed with his big word collection. And he smiled as he emptied his collection of words into the wind. And he saw children scurrying below in the valley, scurrying about collecting words from the breeze. Jerome had no words to describe how happy that made him. The end. Please join me now in the spirit of prayer and meditation. If you wish to, you may plant your feet on the ground, straighten your spine, close your eyes, and follow your breath. These words by Jan Richardson, her poem, A Blessing for Traveling in the Dark. Go slow if you can, slower, more slowly still. Friendly dark or fearsome, this is no place to break your neck by rushing, by running, by crashing into what you cannot see. Then again, it is true. Different darks have different tasks. And if you have arrived here unawares, if you have come in peril or in pain, this might be no place you should dawdle. I do not know what these shadows ask of you, what they might hold that means you good or ill. It is not for me to reckon whether you should linger or you should leave. But this is what I can ask for you, that in the darkness there be a blessing, that in the shadows there be a welcome, that in the night you be encompassed by a love that knows your name. Let us dwell now in silent meditation and prayer. Into this shared silence, you may speak the name of any you wish to hold up for the love and prayers of this gathered community. These good souls and those who could not be named, we hold them in our hearts. Amen. We'll sing together now. Hava Nashira.
If you are on my side, we will be group 1 for the round. If you are on Pam's side, we'll be group 2 for the round. And the words are on the back of the order of service.
will be shared with Room at the Inn. Prior to COVID, Room at the Inn, which is an emergency shelter located in Bridgeton, had a model where different churches hosted the 20 homeless people every night of the week. And Elliott, for 30 years, hosted those on Thursday nights. Since then, they have stayed at their shelter in Bridgeton, and actually it's worked out very well. Unfortunately, people have had to stay in emergency shelters for longer than was originally designed, so they have sort of made a home there. But they still need our assistance in terms of helping with meals and school supplies and more activities for children at the shelter. So our generosity will be most welcome.
Is the last night of Hanukkah, and as many of you know, Hanukkah is a celebration of joy, a celebration of hope, and even hope where there's no reason to be hopeful except for your faith. And the reason that I mention this today is that Catherine and I have been fortunate to we have been housing 5 musicians from Paraguay for the last 3 months. One of them, Paulo Alonso, I've got his name wrong in the program, by the way. Paulo Alonso is going to play solo for you, but he was one of those students in Paraguay who wanted to play music, desperate to play music, but no money to buy instruments. Instruments are very expensive in Paraguay and very hard to come by. So the local music director hired some craftsmen to fashion instruments out of materials they found in the trash dumps. And there's a PBS video, a documentary about this, and if you go on YouTube and you punch in Paraguay Trash Orchestra, you will find, and you might even find pictures of Paulo, who started his career playing a 3-liter, I know they aren't 3 liters in the United States, but a 3-liter Coke bottle fashioned into a viola. And he played beautifully. So now he's got a real viola. And he's going to play for you this morning.
Please join me in the unison dedication of our offering. The words are in your order of service. To the work of the church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you. The reading today is a Christmas letter by Fra Angelico. I salute you. I am your friend, and my love for you goes deep. There is nothing I can give you which you have not already, but there is much, very much, which though I cannot give it, you can take. No heaven can come to us unless our hearts find rest in today. Take heaven. No peace lies in the future which is not hidden in this precious little instant. Take peace. The gloom of the world is but a shadow. Behind it, yet within our reach, is joy. There is radiance and courage in the darkness could we but see, and to see, we have only to look. Life is so generous a giver, but we, judging its gifts by their coverings, cast them away as ugly or heavy or hard. Remove the covering, and you will find beneath it a living splendor, woven of love and wisdom and power. Welcome it, greet it, and you touch the angel's hand that brings it. Everything we call a trial, a sorrow, a duty, believe me, that angel's hand is there. The gift is there, and the wonder of an overshadowing presence. Life is so full of meaning and purpose, so full of beauty beneath its covering, that you will find earth but cloaks your heaven. Courage, then, to claim it, that is all. But courage you have, and the knowledge that we are pilgrims wending through the unknown country, our way home. And so, at this time, I greet you, not quite as the world sends greeting, but with profound esteem, now and forever. The day breaks, and the shadows flee away.
In the far-flung Jewish diaspora, Jews went north and settled in Russia and Lithuania, Poland, all of those little countries, some of which are no longer there. And they spoke a dialect of the local language that became known as Yiddish. I'm sure many of you have heard of Yiddish. But the Jews that went south and settled in Spain and stayed in the Middle East, they spoke a dialect of Spanish called Ladino. And we are going to present, with Pam Triplett's help, a Hanukkah song in Ladino and help you learn how to count to 8 in Ladino. So here it is, Ocho Candelicas.
Sandalitas, 7 sandalitas, 8 baladas para
Una candelica, dos candelicas, tres candelicas, cuatro candelicas, cinco candelicas, seis candelicas, siete candelicas, ocho candelas para mí. Una candelico, seis candelicos, tres candelicos, cuatro candelicos, siete candelicos, seis candelicos, siete candelicos, ocho candelas para mí. Olé!
Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this Sunday because I knew that if anybody could bring the joy, it would be Gesundheit. I was right. Okay, yeah, we can applaud that. Thank you. We needed it so much. What is joy exactly? How would you describe it? Is it a rush of pure happiness, a flood of well-being? I heard someone describe joy as the feeling when all the cells in your body rise and become light. You become light. It's like music that makes you want to dance. Joy is a moment. It's intense, and it's really not a state of being that you can have all the time. It would be exhausting to feel joy all the time, said Brené Brown. I think she's right. And yet this is a season when we see this word, joy, a lot. A lot of us can get a little raggedy as the holidays crank up when words like joy and merry are handed to us like assignments. Like, go on, do this, like requirements. Better maybe to think about joy as a practice, kind of spiritual discipline. We cannot manufacture joy and have it on command, but practices of joy there have to be practices that would allow us to be receptive to it, to these moments when we encounter it, to make room for such moments. Because the world is good at crowding out joy. Instead of practices of joy, the world seems much better at practices of oi. These past few weeks, Thanksgiving holidays have kind of thrown a spotlight on the virus, numbers going up, people moving indoors, and a spotlight on people that we love, maybe, who have, some of them, chosen not to get the vaccine still. It has made some of our dinner tables smaller. Sad to say. We've also seen the Supreme Court's deliberations about abortion laws in Mississippi that have set some of us on edge. And there was a school shooting in Oakland, Michigan, 4 students gone, and their families and their community grieving. How is joy even possible? Frederick Buechner said that happiness comes from places where you'd pretty much expect a good marriage, a fulfilling job, a pleasant vacation. But joy is surprise. The source of joy is mysterious. But joy is possible. These small moments, I believe, are possible, even when things are difficult. You may know this. You may have experienced this. If you've ever had to prepare for a memorial service, and you started talking about the person that died, and suddenly you're telling a funny story about them, and you're laughing, and you're thinking, where did that come from? These little bubbles of joy that came up anyway. They were there the whole time. But joy gets covered over, cluttered up with things. So in thinking about all this, I started to think about Marie Kondo, the organizing guru. You may have heard of Marie Kondo. She wrote this book a couple of years ago called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. And this is a really popular book, which I think a lot of us may have bought in hopes that just maybe buying the book would do a little something, clean your house, maybe. It's just maybe just me. But Marie Kondo talks about sparking joy in her book a lot. So in the name of research, I decided that I would watch a few episodes of her show on Netflix, Sparking Joy. She goes into people's homes and she attempts to help them in clearing their space, or tidying, as she says. So I have two initial observations to offer you. One, first, you cannot watch this show for 10 minutes without immediately feeling like you live in a pig pen. You do, you just look at your stuff. And the second thing is that Marie Kondo, she really does have a genuinely radiant smile. She's just a joyful person, effervescent, you might say. But there's always this moment in the show, this one moment, when she first looks at somebody's place and she sees the mess there, and she's got her smile, and yet there's this flicker of ew. Ew about it. She just can't help herself, and I just love that so much. She's a human. She knows it's not magic. She knows that it is a lot of work. A lot of work. But when I watched more, as this program went on, I did see practices of joy, and I think things that many spiritual disciplines, many religious traditions would recognize as a spiritual discipline. For example, she enters every room, with a certain amount of reverence, teaching people to bow and to pay their respect to the spirit that is in that room. Pausing, slowing down, bowing your head is a posture of respect. It's a way to acknowledge, to remind yourself, and to make a gesture of faith, I believe, that joy is present, that joy and the holy, the sacred, are there. She asks people to handle each thing in their room that they want to consider and ask themselves whether or not it sparks joy for themselves. And if it does, keep it. If it does not, then let it go. Touching something, holding it physically, involves the body and not just thinking about it. And that, too, is important in any real spiritual discipline. And it's a big challenge. I hired a decluttering helper myself. This was a while ago. And it is a challenge to do all of that, but the most important thing seems to be that you do not do this challenge by yourself. You do not, and that's what she does in these exercises. She stands beside the people and keeps them going. You cannot be alone when you're doing this work. Because when you're looking at your stuff, actually you're really looking at your life. It's all there in your things. All of your messes, your failures, your triumphs, your losses. You see maybe the remains of a project that didn't go anywhere. You had high hopes for it. Didn't go well. Or one that succeeded, but now it's over. But with support, I found myself, I could come to admire the person who worked so hard on that, who cared that much. And then if you do that, you can let it go. You can start to let it go, which is the last practice. Being grateful for what was, and then letting it go, acknowledging that it is no more. Now, we don't get a lot of support for this, I think, a lot of times in our lives. I've noticed this when I tell people that, I've accepted my limitation here. This is just not working. I'm going to let it go. And instead of them saying, well, good for you, good letting go for you, they're so eager to help me to insist that you can have it anyway. And here, if you just fix it a little bit like this, and And I don't think that's helpful. I really don't. What we need are people who say, good for you, let it go, because it is hard and spiritual work. For one woman on the show, it was when she saw the dresses that she wore as a high school principal before she had gotten breast cancer. The person that she was, the life she had to grieve and let it go. Bless it and send it. That was what they would say. And that's what my person helped me to say. You'd say, bless it and send it. Give thanks and give it away. What I saw over and over was something that I think we all know, actually. Joy is there somewhere. It's always there, buried underneath some crud. Joy gets revealed when we upset the piles of things. In our story today, Jerome's words went flying as they landed in strange combinations, and that is when the poetry and the music started to happen. Bless it and send it. Give thanks and let it go. What do you think your joy might be buried under? What might you need to let go? Robert and I have been doing some of this work. We've been going through Robert's father's belongings lately to help him sell his home in Florida. It's a big job. Even though his dad has been steadily paring back now for years and years, getting rid of things, it's still a big job. And this summer, we brought Joe himself up to Laclede Groves here in St. Louis in their skilled nursing unit right across the street from us. He's in hospice, so we know that it will not be long for him. He knows it too. He cannot walk, he cannot sit up by himself. He cannot even use a bathroom without assistance. And yet, every time I visit, especially with my husband, there is a sweetness that I had never seen before between them. Robert makes him smoothies and feeds him. They watch football. Joe expresses his awe and joy and wonder over his hero, Tom Brady. And we find these amazing things in his belongings, these treasures. We found his mother Bernice's sewing box, Robert's mother's sewing box. Bernice died in 1994, 7 years before Robert and I even met, and the box looked like it came from maybe the 50s and 60s. And there are these fine old needles called sharps. I didn't even know what that was before. And she had a pin cushion with a little wrist cuff on it that she used to hem things. Robert remembered his mother using that when he saw the little pin cushion. A handful of labels with Robert's and his sister's name in them from when she sewed them into their clothing for summer camp. All these little treasures, all of these little bursts of joy. We found 2 tiny yarmulkes and a little prayer shawl from his days in Hebrew school in the 1st and the 2nd grade. And then there was this, just the other day, there was this nice professional-looking portfolio, leather-bound. We thought, this is a really nice thing. We're going to give this away. So Robert shook it for professional papers, and out popped this photograph from 1959. Robert is about 8 months old. Joe is 29-ish, late 20s. Joe is looking at the camera, grinning, and baby Robert is turning towards his dad as if to say, "You are the weirdest person I have ever seen." Joy, pure joy. What if joy could come from this? What if joy could come from looking where we don't think it's going to be? What if joy could come from turning down all the lights except for 8 and sitting there for a moment? This week in our UU Wellspring class, one of our class members, Gail, lit her menorah for us. She said a traditional Hanukkah blessing in Hebrew, and she said, in my more secular family, we invite people to contemplate the lights in their lives and to give thanks. Joy. What might your joy be buried under, do you think? What might you need to let go of to find it? How many lights could you turn out? How many sounds could you tune out to experience even a small moment of joy? How might you make room for it? What expectations, what fears, what resistance, what stuff might you need to let go of in order to find it? May you find practices of joy this season, now and throughout the year. Amen. Let us sing together. What's that hymn? Number 1059. Doesn't matter, the words are in your order of service. Follow Beth.
Yes. David will play the whole thing once.
Now may the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. Amen.
I'm going to read you the name of a number of songs and ask, what do these songs have in common? Okay, here we go. Winter Wonderland. Santa Claus is coming to town. Let it snow, let it snow. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's the most wonderful. No, I won't sing. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and White Christmas. What do all those have in common? They're Christmas songs written by Jews. That's right. You get the prize. So one of our arrangers, Justice Matthews, he's not, by the way, he's not the only arranger, so he's not the lone arranger. He has been doing historical research into Christmas songs, and we find some surprising things about their Jewish roots. So we're going to present to you the results of that research. Have a very klezmer Christmas.